Hi everybody, this is Ivory Bird. Today I'm doing another time-lapse video for this drawing. This is Loki. I just want to introduce you. You'll see him again here in a second. This is not affiliated with any of the Marvel comics, but I will say that his father was actually quite infatuated with Norse mythology, and he constantly kind of, called his wife Loki's mother, the female version of Loki. And whenever Loki was born, his father had already passed on, and so she passed that name Loki onto him, not really knowing much about mythology, just, it just tied her to her husband and gave Loki a way to know a little bit about his father if he ever did find out. Um, so here we are starting with, the line layer. I started the video at the sketch layer, the rough sketch, mainly because this started out as a pencil drawing on paper. Sorry, and with that, I have to be careful with going from pencil to line work because a lot of the time, perspective and a lot of detail is lost in that. So what I like to do, and what I'm trying to do now more often, is do another sketch layer over the pencil drawing, just so I can get everything set up right, get everything moved around, get everything back into perspective, and then start doing the line work, which it has definitely helped quite a bit. So if you're trying to cut out a lot of work, then you're not going to get very far. Um, because I can show examples until the sun comes back up, um, of why I thought it was working, but now as I've gotten older, I've realized it hasn't. Um, and right here, I kind of was like, I really want to give Loki a more mature look, so I went ahead and got rid of the middle bang right there, and it annoys me to have random not things there because it kind of throws me off. But Loki in this picture, I would say he's about in his 80s. And if you ask why he's in his 80s and looking like he's in his 20s or 30s, it's because he's Nephilim. And in my stories, Nephilim kind of stay around, especially if they consume immortal flesh or blood. And let's just say he's in getting his legally just for legal reasons. But Loki, he's always been, weirdly attractive, and I've tried to keep him, sort of the same style, kind of long, shaggier hair in his face, always the black hair, the green eyes, which were qualities that he got from his mother, who is the demon part of his uh, his biological makeup. So, for my stories, Nephilim are these somewhat frighteningly beautiful, dangerously beautiful creatures, humanoids that, you know, even though they are pretty, nobody has this will to go near them. Nobody wants to associate with them because the result of doing so either ends up you become obsessed with them to the point where you want to hurt them, or you become fearful of them to the point where you want to hurt them, or a mix of the two. Well, really, it's a really rare occasion whenever you associate with a Nephilim and not want to hurt them, because normal people who aren't, sensitive to the paranormal tend to not understand what these creatures are, which is similar to how I see how people interact with demons. Um, with Loki, however, he's at this point, he's got a family of his own. He's lived as long as he has, and he's got two children, and he's got grandchildren at this point because when you're 80, you're gonna have grandchildren by then. So, like my previous picture, Eve, they're about the same age. He's a little bit older than she is, though she kind of lets herself age a little bit more than he does, mainly because she doesn't feel the need. She's got a whole different mentality than Loki does. Um, right here, as you can tell, I'm changing his nose shape because his nose is a little less broader than that. So, um, the layer I just did, the darker green shadowing, is specifically for the line art itself to give it, more depth. And I started out with this pink color, which with the green, it looks a lot more pink than it really was. And I can demonstrate right there because once you turn off the green layer, it's quite a bit more pronounced. And I toned down the green in the background because, it was really throwing me off color-wise. But I did end up changing his color skin tone to a sort of a neutral olive, and I definitely can see him being more olive skin tone, but being having the lighter pale look because he started out as this dark brooding guy, so of course he's gonna be somewhat of a pale guy. And here I'm adding in the skin tone shadows and the differences in tones and the lights and the darks, and trying to really give some depth to the skin tone added onto that darker green layer that I added, just to give everything a little bit more more substance, you could say. One of the biggest things I don't like about digital art is erasing. So, but it's a necessary until you can figure out how to, color perfectly within the lines. As for his hair color, he's always had the black hair. He's part Romanian, in his bloodline, European. He's a generic white boy, but I wanted to give him the Romanian heritage because his father was a Romanian historian, or really, I was thinking, of a teacher. He was a history teacher in Romania that was having an affair with this demon woman, and they sort of hit it off. But before Loki was born, he died of an illness, and she took him to an orphanage. Blah blah blah. Because Nephilim kind of aren't the kind of kind of creatures you want hanging around in a place that has high stress levels. Apparently, orphanage is better than hell. Um, but in realistically, it was her decision to give him up, even though they now know each other, but he kind of like keeps away from her. Um, just to explain what's going on, I'm working on the eyes and finished the hair to where I liked it. And this is where I was dumb and decided to color on the same layer as the skin layer because I switched over to the skin layer to do the eyes, which I normally do, but I usually do another layer for the clothes, and I completely forgot, and here I am not coloring in the lines, and I realize as I'm about to erase, I'm erasing skin, so I was like, okay, crap. So, get rid of all that, new layer, and start painting again. I kind of went really lazy on the shirt, but I kind of like how it turned out. I mean, it's supposed to be a textured shirt, so. And he wears a lot of neutrals and browns and blacks and greens, so he's a guy. He's about. And just a little bit more about Loki. He likes a lot of junk food. He is technically he's technically bisexual, but he leans more towards women as, he's very interested in the fairer sex. So if that tells you anything, because he's easy on the eyes, and in his first story, one of his things was, since his demon guardian, which I will explain, the Nephilim don't have demon guardians. They have nothing. Sorry. Nephilim don't have guardian angels. They get demon guardians, which Loki was one of the first Nephilim to get a demon guardian, because the demon that took to Loki didn't like how Loki was being treated by his stepfather. And so that all happened, and laws were changed. And as soon as a Nephilim was found, a demon was assigned to him, just to make sure that, they didn't get killed, they didn't have any problems, and, just to make sure they last a little bit longer. And they had the choice of either bringing them into the demonic fold or keeping them completely oblivious until the day they died. So, and it all depends on their born ability, which is tied to specifically destruction. Loki can cause tremors through objects with his hands, and causing buildings to fall and stuff like that. So, my train of thought went completely kapooey, but I'm glad that this one is going a lot better. I added a lot of shadow to Loki's face because I wanted to show, the thing about Nephilim is that their eyes kind of glow, and I wanted to give his eyes a really pretty green glow, like I did with Eve, whereas her eyes were blue, so I gave her eyes a really nice blue glow. And it really is just, knowing how to create light, and it's not too hard. So, as this is finishing up, I just want to say thanks to everybody who came and listened. Sorry if I got off track a little bit about Loki. The demon that became his guardian was a incubus, so was an incubus. So if that tells you anything about where Loki was swayed, yeah. All done. I just want to say thank you again for listening and putting up with my randomness. Please subscribe to my video channel and support me by liking or commenting. Sharing is also a great way to support. And that's it. Have a great night, everybody.